of Manhattan, folks, in broad daylight, I might add. Take a look at this scene. It happened on Saturday. Thieves are ramming a car, basically then trying to steal it, trying to steal $20,000 from the driver. We don't know why he was carrying $20,000 on him or why they knew he had it in the first place. But the NYPD is reporting weekly spikes in almost every major crime category compared to last year. As of late last week, the rates of serious crimes was up nearly 36%, including robberies, burglaries, auto thefts, and grand larcenies. Murders and rapes not among the rise. However, there was a New York Post op-ed which congratulates Mayor Eric Adams for bringing down murders, but notes there's a lot more crime to be reined in. Bottom up, quality of life remains horrific. The lack of proactive policing, except when it comes to guns, explains how disorderly behavior escalates to robbery or assault. Jason Rantz, KTPH Seattle radio talk show host. Crime is at an all-time high in this country. Innocent victims of theft are left wondering when the administration is going to do something about it. Last week's address left them pretty empty-handed.
Yeah, I mean, if we're hoping that this current administration is going to do anything about it, I'm hoping people aren't going to hold their breath, because they're not going to do anything, because they realize that it is their policies fueled on by their base that's responsible for this. When you look at all of the cities that have embraced this abolitionist mindset, whether it's defunding the cops or going with cashless bail or choosing restorative justice programs in place of actual jail time for criminals, you've seen this incredibly high rate of crimes that are occurring all over the place, across all of these categories. And even in New York, look, this is obviously a little bit of an anomaly. You don't see this kind of crime all the time. However, to your point, it happened in broad daylight. They would not do this if they didn't think they could get away with it. And that's telling.
Yeah, that's really sad. And I like that you point that out, because they don't think that they're going to get caught, because cops' hands have been tied in this country. So they just assume that even if they do get caught, they're going to get right out. So it doesn't matter. There's no risk in trying to steal, because the cops' hands are tied. The crime crisis running rampant, especially in Democratic cities, New York City being one of them, Seattle being another. It saw, in fact, its deadliest month in recent history this August, and it's actually on track to set a 25-year high, record high in deadly shootings. Seattle police say that they had 11 homicides last month. The city averaged roughly 3 homicides every August between 2008 and 2021, meaning that this year's August saw a roughly 267% increase compared to the previous 14-year average. When are lawmakers going to see that they are the problem?
Yeah, that's a good question, because lawmakers right now aren't talking about this. We have heard virtually nothing coming from the Seattle City Council, which is directly responsible for a lot of what's happening in Seattle. But when you step back and you look at Washington State, we've seen the same kind of crime surge. And again, you can point the finger at specific policies that Democrats passed, including a ban on almost every single vehicular pursuit. So guess what? A criminal who can do their crime very quickly and get into a car, usually stolen, and then just drive off, so long as it's a nonviolent crime, police can't chase them. They are adapting to these policies.
Yeah, and by the way, chasing a car, a car speeding down the road like that, that is violence. That car was a weapon. That is why you should be chasing down cars, to stop them and ram them so that they can't continue to potentially run over pedestrians and cause more carnage. I just got to move on, speaking of cars, to California and this ridiculous electric car mandate going on out there that may actually impact car sales across the nation. 17 states with emission standards tied to the Clean Air Act are now actually considering following the state's lead. The mandate calls for following federal emission standards or abiding by California's rules. Oregon, Washington, Massachusetts, and New York among those looking at falling in line. Okay, the state of California has botched this so badly, because not only are they trying to push electric cars down our throats, right? Because, of course, it's going to save on air pollution, emissions, all of that. Okay, great. I gotcha. Spend $60,000 to save the earth, but then don't ban those people from charging their cars between the hours of 4 and 9 p.m. and then come around and say, but by 2035, we're going to ban gas-powered vehicles. It makes zero sense.
It doesn't make any sense, and I'm glad actually at the timing of this, because it really highlights how we are not ready for this world that Democrats are pushing us down. I have no problem with electric vehicles. In fact, if people want to purchase them, more power to them. I do think it obviously cuts down on pollution and our reliance on oil. The problem is we do not have the infrastructure nor the energy policy to handle that kind of shift. So we're talking just about California. They're very clearly not going to be ready by 2035. Let's say you're going on a drive, you're going from Bakersfield into Los Angeles because you have a doctor's appointment that requires a specialist. If you even forget to plug in that vehicle, well, guess what? You're going to get stuck on the drive over, and you're going to be without any kind of solution. So this idea that we're suddenly going to do this across many states just in a short amount of time, when we do not have not just the infrastructure, but an energy policy to ensure that the cars are able to be plugged in to begin with. It is just so absurd. It's literally putting the cart before the horse. And I think we need to roll this back. Again, smart policy does encourage this kind of technological advances that we've seen in cars. But let's say we go into 2035 doing this. Well, guess what? People also might not have the money to spend. They'll end up purchasing used cars, which are gas guzzlers, which don't have the newest technology. So you're not really going to do anything different here.
Yeah, no, electric cars are not cheap. Okay, so unless the government plans on giving out cars, I don't think so. Jason Rantz, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming on. Thanks for coming on this Labor Day.
Thanks, Julie. Appreciate it.
Griff.
Julie, help wanted signs are all too common this Labor Day. A worker shortage hitting small businesses.